Hello and welcome back to the Skipper's View podcast, episode 234, brought to you as always by Chinook Seedery. If you're having a craving for a sunflower seed, go use the Skipper's View as your discount code to get 10% off sunflower seeds from Chinook Seedery. Hagen, we're back, and obviously not a massive amount of baseball news this week, but we do have one massive piece that we're going to commit a lot of time on this episode to because Jose Ramirez is the freaking man. Before we dive into that, how have you been, man? How's everything been going?
I've been good. My team is off-season is complete, which is a very nice feeling. And it feels like there's still some more room to be done in the off-season. Obviously, there's so many guys that are still available. But, pitchers and catchers report in 2 weeks from today. It's getting to an exciting point now where the off-season's coming to a close. Pitchers and catchers reporting here soon. And baseball is starting back up. And JUCO baseball's already started too. So, baseball season's here, guys. Obviously, we had some football games and stuff. The Super Bowl left, but normally I always viewed it as once the Super Bowl's over, then it's officially baseball season. So it's an exciting time right now to be a baseball fan.
That's a good benchmark. Once the Super Bowl's over, then it's officially baseball season. I know Dean would laugh and be like, no, every day is baseball season, which it is. But, we got to respect that people who watch sports, they watch multiple sports. And I coach lacrosse. I don't try and disencourage my guys from ever, not playing multiple sports. It just, we love baseball. That's why we talk about it on a weekly basis. But that being said, let's talk about Jose, the man, the myth, the legend, Ramirez. So for those who don't know, Jose Ramirez agreed to a 7-year, $175 million extension. Looks like J-Ram at age 32 is going to be a Guardian for life, because if he plays his entire contract out with the Guardians, he's going to be 39 years old. So this is awesome because, truthfully, as a bit me, I'm a big collector of autographs specifically from guys from the Hall of Fame. It's my little niche. I appreciate players who played their entire careers with one team. Not that there's anything wrong, like with the Max Scherzers and the Justin Verlanders of the world, they're both automatic first ballot Hall of Famers. Both of them have played for many teams now. It's just not, I don't know. I don't find it as special, especially when it's like a homegrown talent and they bring them up from the farm system up into, everyday player to like good to all-star to perennial all-star to now it's like J-Ram's a Hall of Famer. And I think he'll be first ballot. So I'll pause there. What does this mean to the Guardians, in your opinion?
This is great for the Guardians. Obviously, you keep a guy in Jose Ramirez locked up who I think it's not going to be a discussion by the end of his career that he's going to be the greatest Guardians player of all time. This franchise dates back to 1901, and I'm looking at it here now. He's already 4th all-time in WAR with the team, and he's behind Nap Lajoie, Trisham Speaker, and Lou Boudreau. I only know who Lou Boudreau is, so obviously these guys are from a long, long time ago, so he's obviously the best modern-day Guardian there's already been. And now he's going to keep adding those stats. And this guy's probably going to get a statue in Cleveland here. For what he's going to do for this franchise and what he already has done, he's a perennial top 10 player every single year. He's been the most underrated player in baseball for a long time now. And it's just great to see Cleveland and a small market team lock up a guy like this long-term, see him finish his career. And take the hometown discount too. I know he deferred, I believe it was like $80 million of the contract. He signed previously his extension that he signed was a very team-friendly deal. He was on one of the best contracts in baseball, and it was to keep him on this team because he wanted to be in Cleveland. And now he does that again, gives him a team-friendly deal. He's still probably underpaid for what he's worth, honestly. And he gets to stay there his whole career. I love this from Jose Ramirez, and I love to see him take a hometown discount too.
Yeah, that's a key word there, hometown discount. And we know that the Guardians are not the most, they're not the biggest team on payroll. We'll say that. Pulling up his B-War page right now, his baseball reference page right now. Just look at it. Every year, essentially, even 2016, he was not an all-star. He was still MVP 17 in voting. Like, how does that happen? And then he's been an MVP candidate virtually every single year except for the 2019, where, he only played in 129 games out of a possible 162. In that, he still had 23 bombs. He still had almost 85 RBIs. He still had 50-plus walks, scored 70 runs, essentially, and batted almost 260. So it just wasn't a J-Ram year. But this guy, with 57.6 WAR, you got to assume, I think, over the next year or two, based off his performance as of late, he'll carry this up until about age 34 is my prediction. Then he'll start to slow down once he gets to 35. If he gets another, the last 2 years he's combined, he had almost 13 WAR. Let's just say he gets 5 WAR the next 2 years, 5 a year. That gives him 10 additional WAR, and he'll be just under that 70 career WAR number. And I think that alone, with the standards going down again in the Hall of Fame for baseball, at least, I think that will get him into the Hall. And that's only 2 years of a 7-year deal. So I think, one, I'm very happy I got his autograph. It's sitting in a box over here. I got a few guys that are like Jose Altuve. I got just random players I think they're going to get in. Miguel Cabrera, obviously, he's going to be first ballot. Super excited about this for J-Ram, though. And the Guardians, I think that they could now make moves to bolster the team. Obviously, the centerpiece is J-Ram. There's no one on that team that's that they're building around. People could argue for Stephen Kwan, but that's not who the Cleveland Guardians are. They might trade Stephen Kwan, honestly. So we'll see how that all goes. But by the way, you didn't know what Tris Speaker is?
No, I'm not really the best, honestly, with baseball history with these guys. I mean, you know me, I don't really give a shit about baseball pre-1970, to be honest with you. I don't think those players were that good compared to what they are today. That means that's nothing against them, what they did back in their time. Eras matter and all that, but I like baseball from 2000 onwards.
Fair enough. Well, Tris Speaker, by the way, very hard, very expensive autograph. Born in 1888, so a little bit before our time. Has a career 134.9 WAR, 3,500 hits, 117 bombs, batted .345 for his career, with 436 stolen bases. So with 928 OPS, this guy was a menace for Boston and for Cleveland. He played a little bit. I think this is the Washington Senators, maybe 1927, and then he played one other team to end his career, the Philadelphia Athletics. So, 22 years he played. Tris Speaker, definitely. I knew the name. I learned about him. You actually learn his importance and how important he was to the game. Have you seen the Ken Burns baseball documentary?
No, I have been told multiple times I need to watch that, though.
Strongly advised. I'm on episode 7. I need to finish it, but one episode, it's not dedicated fully to Tris Speaker, but each episode they take a few players from each generation and highlight well, this is the Ty Cobb era, this is the Babe Ruth era, the big players during that time. And it really helps break down okay, we hear these names like DiMaggio, Mantle, Berra, Ruth. I'm naming all Yankees. Ted Williams. They're highlighting these guys and then they're making you understand, okay, who did they play with at the time? And I think that helped a lot with me in understanding more of my past and history of baseball. I have a lot to learn, but still it helped, it's a good starting point. But J-Ram, 7 years, 175 million, Cleveland Guardian for life. Let's talk about a few guys that does not look like they are going to be with their teams for life. And I think there's 7 guys. This was an article that I saw this week. I believe it was put out by The Athletic, about guys who get traded or not. And I just simply wrote down their names, and I want to go through with you one at a time and just figure out, one, do we think they get traded or not? So I'm going to ask, you answer, and then 2, if so, who do you think is going to make the deal and why? So we got to start with the most apparent guy whose name has been all over trade markets, Tarek Skubal. Do you think he gets traded? Yes, no?
I think the smart decision would be in the long term for the franchise would be to trade him. I don't think you can really argue that, especially when he's not seemingly going to come back after this year. But I really don't think it's going to happen. I think if it does, it's going to be a deadline thing. They're going to see if the team's faltering around midseason. Obviously, they're projected to be top of the division, but I think they're going to wait there. Obviously, the asking price is insane right now. I think if it wouldn't have been insane, I think a team like the Mets, the Dodgers would have done that. Obviously, now it's probably only the Dodgers now that would be in there as much, just because the Mets traded away 2 top 100 prospects for Freddie Peralta now, and they really showed the rotation. They don't need a Skubal. I mean, you can add Skubal and figure it out later, but I just think for how high the asking price is right now, you can't trade for Tarek Skubal unless you're guaranteeing an extension. And I just don't see Scott Boras letting him sign an extension. I mean, he saw what happened with Juan Soto when the Mets and the Yankees got into a bidding war with him. The Mets and the Dodgers get into a bidding war, the 2 teams that'll probably get up to, wouldn't it be even crazy if you got $50 million a year? I mean, You give him he's looking close to $400 million. I mean, I think you got to let that guy go to free agency. And I think that's why I don't think he's going to get moved.
So I've been torn in between on this one because it's like my immediate gut reaction is like, Detroit, what are you doing? Look what just happened with Shohei and the Angels. They didn't move him. They made a few Band-Aid moves to cover up, a wound that needed stitches, if not staples, and they tried to put Band-Aids on it, and then he left. Tarik Skubal, he's no Shohei Ohtani, but he's back-to-back Cy Young winner, and he could win a third one this year. He's age 28. He's already undergone Tommy John surgery back in 2017. So odds of him getting another one, obviously low, knock on wood. We don't ever want to see Tarik Skubal injured. Like, I just don't know how much, like, he's a pitcher, right? Like, how much gas does he have left in the tank for the career? And I get that. That's crazy of me to ask, as he's still on the better side of 30. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to trade him, you can't be asking for this astronomical price tag where everyone knows he's going to leave you anyway if you don't pay him. Like, so to me, you're fiddling around with the fans at this point. Like, you're toying with fans' hearts. He's 29. He'll be 30 in November. So by the end of this season, he'll be 30 years old. If you're not going to pay him, move him now. Why not? You have plenty of prospects. You have guys coming up that we have not seen yet. We haven't seen McGonigal. Chris Rodriguez, he's a youngster international prospect. He's under the age of like 19. They gave him like a $3.5 million signing bonus out of the bonus pool. Like, they have these guys. They have Parker Meadows, who they're hoping for a bounce back from, and he's still in his 20s. They got Colt, Colt Keith. Who knows how he's going to pan out? That doesn't include Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. Like, if you're going to go young, ride the young wave, make the move now. I'm just sick of them playing, back and forth, whether they're going to do it or not. It's like the Dodgers, they don't need to move their assets. They would rather just wait it out and then be like, yeah, we'll get them next year. Like, we already got 7 Cy Young winners in our rotation anyway. Not actually, but you know what I mean. So I think Detroit is not going to move him. Bottom line, I think they're going to mess this up. I think they're not going to move him, and then they're going to get, taken to school either by someone lowballing them at the deadline, or they lose him in free agency. It's one or the other. That's how I see this happening. Ketel Marte. He's obviously part of Arizona. Arizona, they just traded for Nolan Arenado. They have a superstar in Corbin Carroll. They have Geraldo Perdomo, one of the most underrated players in all of baseball. What are your thoughts? Are they going to move Marte and try and rebuild this core, or are they going to stick with what they got and try and add to it?
I think in my opinion, I think there's really any shot he gets moved. I think he would have got moved earlier if that would have happened. But I just think you look at Ketel Marte, who's one of the best contracts in all of baseball, just like we're talking about Jose Ramirez a second ago. He's one of the best contracts in baseball, probably one of the most surplus value on a contract in all of baseball. He's still in his prime, still a top 15 player in all of baseball, the best second baseman in all of baseball by far. And the offense right now, too, like, this offense is a World Series offense. I mean, like, people look at it, go look at the numbers from 2024 and 2025, the Guardians. They've had a top 5 offense both years, I believe. The issue's been the pitching. And obviously, you can improve the pitching a little bit. Obviously, you have Corbin Burns coming back this year. Maybe you go out and sign a Zach Gallen. You got Merrill Kelly came back, too. But I just think trading J-Ram would be a step in the wrong direction here, especially for a guy who's been so good for you. I mean, it's going to take a lot to get him, clearly. We saw that earlier, especially with the talks of the Red Sox, kind of some of the players that were going on there. But I just don't see them trading him. I know he has some clubhouse issues. That'd be the only reason why you would kind of lean towards it is possible that they trade him, but I just don't really see him getting moved right now, especially 2 weeks before spring training starts.
And by the way, you said J-Ram. We're referring to Ketel Marte, just if anyone missed that. We are still focused on Marte. And my gut is telling me that they should stay put because, like you said, Hagen, one of the best contracts in baseball for the value you're getting out of Ketel Marte. And just looking at their chart, right? Gabriel Moreno, Adrian Del Castillo, they're kind of set at catcher. Pavin Smith's going to be back. He missed a bunch of games last year at the end of the year, and he was guns a-blazing last year before the injury. Ketel Marte, Nolan Arenado, Geraldo Perdomo. The infield is low-key kind of stacked, especially if Arenado has any resurgence of, old-fashioned Arenado here. Then you go to the outfield, you got Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, who defensively, he's very athletic, and they could probably add an outfielder. They still have Lourdes Gurriel. I don't know if he's the answer there, but there's outfielders that they can go sign that are available today to go sign. They need some help in the pitching department, in my opinion. Obviously, closers, they had it felt like 3 or 4 of them go get Tommy John last year. Starters, obviously, Zach Gallen's still out there as a free agent. They got Eduardo Rodriguez, who they're counting on bouncing back in a big way. Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt has shown signs of life throughout his career. Michael Soroka, that's kind of a gamble. He was a big name, big player a few years ago out of Canada with the Braves and the White Sox. I don't know how that's going to work out, but they are taking a flyer. And then they got Ryan Nelson. So I think they stay as put, and they simply just try. Why not go get Framber Valdez? Why not go get a frontline starter? You need starters, and you could add Nick Martinez, who's cheap. You could add. There's so many guys they could add right now that would make this team go from a team to I'm not gonna say they're gonna take the division with the Dodgers there. That's disrespectful, but they could easily get a wild card spot in the NL. I truthfully believe that with the pieces they already have, and if they add.
This team's already been, 2024, they lost the wild card on a tiebreaker to the Mets on the last day of the season. Actually, the day after the season started because they had to play the extra game. But even last year, too, they were still very close down to there to the very end. Even after selling at the deadline, they traded away Gino Suarez and Josh Naylor, and they were still down there, down to the wire to go to the wild card game. And I think just signing a pitcher, I think Gallen's probably the one I think they'd go to, just because I don't think they want to go out and dish out all the money like a Framber Valdez. I just don't know if they want to do that. I don't know, his market seems very slim right now, so maybe they could. But I think Gallen makes the most sense just because they can offer him a deal that no other team can with him having the qualifying offer. Think about they're giving a Michael King type deal where it's the opt-outs, work him out way, where it's benefiting the team, but also the player. Hey, you can come back here, you can rebound your value at all, and then you can go back out next season or the year after, whatever it is. So I think at this point, I would just say that they're going to sign Zach Gallen. I would probably say that.
And I'm just looking at this quickly. Outfield, if they want to, I don't know what, Alec Thomas, obviously, big name as a prospect a couple of years ago, showed real athleticism defensively, and I don't know if he's the hitter they want there, but look at it. They can go get Marcell Ozuna, make him the DH. They can go get Michael Conforto, take a flyer on him, and they could also add in starters that aren't going to cost you Framber Valdez money. Go get Chris Bassett, go get Nick Martinez, go get Eric Fetty, go get Zach Littell. Any 4 of those guys, you could probably sign all 4 of them, and they wouldn't cost you as much as Framber's going to cost. And your rotation's completely revamped right there. And that, there's also relief pitchers they can go get. I don't understand. They can go get David Robertson, take a flyer on him. I don't know if he would go. He probably wants to play with a contender, but Evan Phillips is available. Andrew Chafin's available. Right? There's guys out there to make this work. And I think that the Diamondbacks, if they really want to compete, invest some money. Now, I'm not saying spend the house and go get Framber, but do something, because Corbin Carroll's too good to not build around. And if the plan is not this year, next year, they could delay forever. Just looking at the Dodgers, be like, oh, it's not our year with the Dodgers as good as they are. But you never know until you build the team to do it. And I just think they should. Let's talk about another contender. I think this team actually very close to the Diamondbacks here. They have the pieces. I think this team's a little bit better on paper, and by a little bit better, they're a lot better on paper now than last year. The Boston Red Sox, they got a player named Jarren Duran, pretty big name in baseball, very good player. He's been hinted at getting traded for the last few months. What are your thoughts on Jarren Duran and getting moved?
At the beginning of the offseason, I thought he was going to get moved for sure, and then it cooled off for a while, and I didn't think he was going to get moved at all. But now, as we sit here today, the Red Sox have one clear need. They need a bat. They need a second baseman, third baseman on their team. Obviously, they have the outfield surplus right now. So I'm going to lean that they do trade him right now. And I would only lean that too. Obviously, it's him and Willie Abreu are kind of the 2 guys that have been rumored, trade rumors there. But Willie Abreu has 4 years of team control left. Duran has 3, and Duran's already $7.7 million. In 2 years, he's probably going to be a $15 million player out there, especially for what he's done in the past. So I think they're going to package him, and maybe with a starting pitcher, one of those young guys they have. I mean, they have like 8 or 9 starting pitchers right now that can pitch in the big leagues for him. Pit him with like a Patrick Sandoval or someone, eat some money if you need to, and go out and trade and get your second baseman, third baseman that you need. Because obviously they're not going to go out there and sign that bet at this point, I wouldn't think, especially where they're at the luxury tax. But so I would say Jarren Duran's probably going to get moved. I know he has the DH spot right now open and they can do that, but they're going to add a bat that's going to take another spot in the lineup there. So I think he's going to get moved.
I'm just a little confused because I think a month and a half ago, I would have agreed like he's going to get moved, there, no doubt. Maybe even 2 months ago, whenever the Sonny Gray deal went down, I feel like I lost faith in them trying to move him. Because you had Sonny Gray this offseason from St. Louis. You add Ranger Suarez. You have Brayan Bello. You trade for Johan Oviedo. So you made 3 deals between free agents and trading for Sonny Gray, Suarez, and Oviedo. That doesn't include like Patrick Sandoval. He's an okay pitcher, and he'll be back from injury at a certain point. Carter Crawford should be back sooner rather than later. With Peyton Toll and Connolly early, like I don't know how you trade Duran for another pitcher here. And I wouldn't trade Jarren Duran for relief pitching. You could always just go sign for relief pitching off the market. And for the bats, like who is going to trade for Jarren Duran that you're upgrading an infielder? Like there might be someone, but like where does Boston need to improve in the infield? I think that they have Trevor Story. He's got a massive contract, and they're not going to be able to move him with that type of money tied to him. Connor Wong and Carlos Narvaez are fine behind the dish. You just traded for Wilson Contreras. Second base is your really like only need, I think, that you could really update on between Romy Gonzalez, David Hamilton, Cedane Rafaela might get some reps there, but he's probably going to be their primary center fielder. Nick Sogard. Third base, Marcelo Meyer's young, and he's like he was supposed to be the shortstop of the future before the Trevor Story. So like, I just don't get where they would put a Jarren Duran piece now in their lineup. And in fact, I would think it'd be more prospects they would get. And I don't know how that helps them this season. That's where I'm getting at why I'm confused at what they're going to do. I know that's not a real answer, but I would say at this point, it would be at the deadline, if anything. They're going to see how the team plays out. And like, if they're really lacking in one department, they have him to move as like their trump card.
Yeah, and kind of build off what you were just saying there too. Like with Duran, it's kind of hard because a lot of these guys like a Brendan Donovan, like the Cardinals aren't really trying to compete right now. So would you want Duran back in that sort of deal? I wouldn't think so right now, but I think it kind of makes it harder because obviously it's the end of the offseason where teams are almost fully built at this point. But if you're trading Jarren Duran, a team that's going to want him back is probably a contending team. So it's got to be a team that's also a contender, which limits the pool a lot here. And I think like the one that makes the most sense to me would be you call up Houston and you ask for Isak Paredes and give them Jarren Duran for that. So, I mean, if you look right now, I mean, Houston in left field right now, it's either going to be Yordan Alvarez or Jose Altuve. Because at the shortstop right now, you have Jeremy Pena. At second base, you have Altuve right now. Christian Walker's at first base. You have Correa at third base. And then you really have nowhere to put Paredes. Like Paredes on the bench right now. So then Yordan Alvarez in the DH. I mean, there's a clog there. I mean, you're going to need, obviously, guys want to be healthy and all that, but your infield is clogged, and you're running out either Yordan Alvarez or Jose Altuve in left field, who both are respectfully awful defenders in left field. You go out at Jarren Duran. I know the walls are weird out there. He's used to playing off Fenway. He can play off the Crawford boxes there. And then you put him at third. You put Paredes at third base, second base, wherever you want to put him for the Red Sox. Same fit ballpark-wise because he just pulls a lot of lousy fly balls and hit 30 home runs out there with the Green Monster out there. And Houston gets a left fielder, too, and they keep their infield set.
Yeah. No, I think, there's a lot that goes into the Duran saga right now with Boston. And I think we both brought up some solid points about what they could do, what they should do. I don't know. I looked at Duran, like, I know it was 2 years ago, but Duran, I was like, I didn't want the Yankees pitching to him. Like, he was that good, like, in the 2024 season. And yeah, obviously cooled off a little bit in 2025, had a down year compared to 2024, but most players would have had a down year compared to Duran's 2024. So we'll see. And it's a good thing for, the Red Sox that they have an extra piece that they can move on top of their prospect system right now because they're honestly they have a surplus of great prospects that they can call upon. I want to talk about another system, not a competitor at all for this upcoming season. And this is the team that I think could finish in dead last in the entire major leagues in terms of record this year, and that is the Washington Nationals. I know people might think that's a hot take. Look at their roster; it is dreadful. They got James Wood and C.J. Abrams. Obviously, James Wood, if he can calm down the strikeouts, like he's the bat of the future to build around. C.J. Abrams, I'll start with this one. I'm a big C.J. Abrams guy. I drafted him in multiple leagues last year. I was severely disappointed, even though like he had 19 bombs. He batted almost 260. He did have 31 stolen bases, which is why I drafted him. So I think C.J. Abrams at age 24, your time is not now. And there are a lot of teams that are willing to pay for a shortstop of this caliber. And C.J. Abrams, in my opinion, if he gets moved to a contender where he's not isolated and it like maybe better discipline, not get caught gambling at the casino nights before a game, I think he could really transform his game and become that much of a better player. Who's to say a contender doesn't make a move for a shortstop? There's plenty of contenders that could use a everyday shortstop, and I think the Nationals would be crazy not to trade Abrams as soon as he gets hot. I think with the age, the pedigree, it would be a great player to acquire, and it'd be worth the prospects if you can get it at the right price.
Just to build off to what you first said there about how bad the Nationals are going to be this year. Obviously, me and Will earlier were talking about win totals and how the Rockies are probably going to crush the over there, and the Nationals being 15 wins above what the Rockies are right now is just absolutely insane. I was looking today to see if I could bet the Nationals to be the worst team in baseball because I feel pretty confident that they're going to be the worst team in baseball. I think the Rockies will be better than them this year. But with C.J. Abrams too, I think they'll trade him, but more closer to the deadline here. I know it was the same thing with Mackenzie Gore, where with the new management, new front office here, they want to see these guys develop an extra year and see what they can do with them, with their new coaches, their new staff, and see what they can do to them, try to build off the value and see if they can get that more value out of him and then trade it with the deadline. So I think that's the more likely thing here. But as we saw with Mackenzie Gore, if you get a package coming across the table that's better than you want back in return, you can't say no to it. Sometimes that happened with Gore. They got an offer they couldn't refuse, and they said yes to it. So there's still a chance he does get traded this offseason, but I think he's more likely middle of the season deadline, just to get him under their team supervision for a year so they can do with them. And I think, too, even a team like the Mariners, you have a lot of top prospects. They could trade for him, too. Obviously, you have J.P. Crawford there right now and Cole Emerson coming up, but C.J. Abrams is honestly probably more of a second baseman the longer he goes in his career. He's not a very good defensive shortstop. I know J.P. Crawford isn't either, but you can put Abrams at second base, and hopefully the defense improves a little bit there. So I would say probably the deadline for him.
I pray to God they don't trade with the Mariners for Colt Emerson because I have a 101 mojo card of Colt Emerson, and I think that card's value would plummet if he got traded to the Nationals. I will be selling it once he gets called up. I'm looking at the win totals from Vegas Insider. The Nationals are they're right now the over-under 66.5 wins. The White Sox are at 65.5, and then the Rockies are at 52.5. So they're the bottom three teams. If the Nationals move Abrams, they're obviously going to lose even more games. The White Sox, I think, that like being below the Nationals is kind of like criminal considering how much the White Sox have. Like I know they just moved Luis Robert Jr., but they've done so much to improve the roster overall. And I think the young guys, a lot of guys are like, this is my time to shine. I think a lot of guys are going to jump on their opportunities here. And then the Rockies, they're terrible. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to defend the Rockies, but they can easily win a few more games and the Nationals lose a few more games depending how things go. And the Nationals could very well be the worst team in baseball in 2026. So got to sell while the, player's hot. So let's talk about Sandy Alcantara, Miami Marlins starting pitcher. Sandy, obviously, he can be one of the best hurlers of the baseball in all of baseball. What do you think that Peter Bendix and this Marlins staff is going to do? Obviously, they moved Edward Cabrera earlier this year. They got guys like Max Meyer and Yuri Perez. They're banking on bouncing back both from injury and performance in a big way. Sandy Alcantara is now 1 full year removed from Tommy John, maybe a year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah.
So, he had a 5.36 yet last year through 31 starts. He coming off Tommy John. Yeah, what are your thoughts? 29 years old.
Yeah, I think there's absolutely no shot he gets moved, especially after them dealing 2 starting pitchers. I mean, even to back that up, if Sandy Alcantara gets traded before pitchers and catchers report in the next 2 weeks, I will Venmo a listener of this podcast $50 personally if he gets traded. That's how I don't think there's any way he's getting moved at all. And if he does, one of you guys gets $50. I just think he wants to be in Miami. It seems like the Marlins like him. He's kind of the leadership role of those young guys, like a Yuri Perez in that rotation there. Also, you already dealed to Ryan Weathers, and you dealed with Edward Cabrera. But yes, you have more pitchers that can come up and fill the spots. All these rookies, you have like 3 or 4 rookies that are ready to take spots right away. But I just don't think Miami would do that, especially too because where they're at with their payroll. If you trade away Sandy Alcantara and whatever he's making around $20 million a year, you have to add that money right back, or else you're going to get sued by MLB PA for not having a high enough payroll, for not spending 150% of the revenue sharing money. So if you trade away him, you got to go spend $20 million on a player to add right now. And I just don't see them doing that. I think at that point, they'd rather just stick with their guy.
So the funny thing is, like, Peter Bendix, I think he's obsessed with prospects. And, like, I could see him moving it to bolster I think it really depends how Miami comes out of the gates. If Miami, goes on to contend and they look really good to start the season with all the moves they made, and I don't think they move him. But if they're not doing well and Sandy Alcantara is pitching a lot more like Sandy from like 2020, what was it? What was his big year? Was it 2023? Because I'm assuming he sat out,
he was Cy Young.
Yeah, and he sat out all of 2024 essentially for Tommy John. 2022, he was Cy Young winner. So I don't think, I don't know if he'll ever get back to that level. But if we see anything that looks remotely like that, I could see Peter Bendix pulling the trigger and selling, because it's like he's a 29-year-old pitcher now. He's not, when he came up, it was like, oh, he's 25, 26, and like he's so young and so good. And it's like having Tommy John in your later 20s really sucks, because you miss a year and a half, and the next thing you know, you blink and you're like, damn, Sandy Alcantara is turning 30 this year. And that's just how baseball works. It sucks. But I think it really depends how Miami starts out of the gate. If they're hot, I think they keep them. If they're not, I think they're going to sell them. That's my final take on Alcantara. Brendan Donovan of the St. Louis Cardinals. I would say he's like a second base utility guy, infielder for sure. Do you think he gets moved?
Yeah, I'm actually really shocked he hasn't been moved yet. It seems like the Cardinals aren't really budging on their price here, but I think you should trade him here. I mean, unless they feel like they can trade him for this pretty much the same price at the deadline, have him build a little bit too. I think that might be their thinking there too, but I think he's traded no matter what before the end of the season, I would say. Especially too, because this team's not really looking to compete anytime soon. Chaim Bloom's looking to kind of build this farm up, make him competitive in 3 years, 4 years, probably 3 years, I would say right now. The window, it's kind of hard to tell right now. But especially when all those offseason signings this year have been guys that are most likely going to flip at the deadline. They just kind of the contracts worked out that way. So I think you got to trade him too. Only 2 years of control left. You don't want to wait until the season's over and then have 1 year of control left. I mean, that 1 year of control, it really matters a lot. I know it's kind of hard with the CBA coming up and everything, but I think you got to trade him now. I would not be surprised if Chaim Bloom's already put in some calls with the Red Sox there and Craig Breslow. Obviously, they've made 2 trades this offseason before, getting prospects back. Prospects that Chaim Bloom himself drafted with the Red Sox. He obviously knows that farm just as well as anybody besides Craig Breslow. So I bet he's making calls with the Red Sox before. I think like the Mariners and the Red Sox, I would say probably the 2 teams that would probably be looking to get him. I think the Red Sox are probably looking to shoot bigger. I think the Mariners would want him, but if it's going to cost Senja or Ryan Sloan, I just don't think I'm budging on that price.
Yeah, I think he's as good as gone. Like Chaim Bloom is clearly like St. Louis is, I think, Vegas odds. I'm not looking at it right now, but when I was looking at it the other day, I think St. Louis was predicted to finish last in the NL Central. They made a lot of moves. They have a lot of young, promising prospects who are coming up now. They got rid of all their big talent. Their rotation is there's no other word to describe it. It is abysmal. It is so bad, their rotation. They're not going to win a lot of games. And why would you hold on to a piece when you've traded Contreras, you traded Sonny Gray, you have a young not a superstar, but a young star in Mason Wynn. Who knows what Jordan Walker's going to be? Let's maybe give him a full run of a season instead of moving him up and down, back and forth between minors and majors. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to be. They also have a lot of other guys that, coming up that I think can be difference makers. And like Jordan Walker, he was 23 last year and he played in 111 games. He batted .215. He was 23 years old and he got moved up and down, minors to majors the year before that, like he was a rag doll. So I think it's really hard to develop. I think he just needs consistent at bats. Maybe they'll see something from him that they like. The power obviously is not there. What we thought it was going to be, and he batted .215. I don't know, but they have pieces that I'm intrigued by, and I think that the Cardinals need to move Brendan Donovan ASAP, especially with what they've already been doing. It would be almost irresponsible for them not to move him at this point. And to the Mariners, are you kidding me? That'd be kind of sexy and get some pitching aid because, like the Cardinals, it's supposed to go through my memory here. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. I remember, I believe, two of their big. They have J.J. Weatherholt, but their other bigger, pitchers, Quinn Matthews, and then who is the other one? Takoa Roby and Tink Hence. They got three guys that 23 years old. Tink Hence, Takoa Roby, 24, Quinn Matthews, 25. They have some starters that look like they could really play, and that's not including J.J. Weatherholt, who people really believe in. And now Joshua Baez as well. He's an outfielder. He's 22. He's a big boy. He's 6'3", 220, and he looks like he can hit nukes. So they have pieces. They just need to continue adding depth to really create a brand new core for this team. That's kind of where I sit at, but Chaim Bloom's well aware of that, and he's obviously been acting in that way. Let's talk about our last player on this list, Luis Severino. Thoughts? He's currently with the Athletics.
Yeah, I think he's going to get traded this season during the year. I don't think they're going to happen in the offseason now, but I think he's going to be someone around the deadline time. You'll see him get moved for a couple of reasons. Obviously, we know last year Luis Severino was very outspoken about not liking that ballpark at all and didn't like being in a minor league ballpark. And obviously, if you look at his splits too, he was pretty bad at home, and he was Luis Severino on the roads. I mean, so he was still a good pitcher on the road last year. And I think, too, where the A's are at now, when you extend like a Tyler Soderstrom, you've added some payroll, Jeff McNeil. I mean, you're in a spot right now where you could shed Luis Severino and still not have to sign anybody else for the luxury tax payroll. I know it doesn't, you want to shed the payroll and add more, but we know how the A's operate. Just because they shed payroll here, as long as they're not going to get sued by MLB PA, they're not going to add the money. So if you get Severino off this roster right now, you're pretty much going to go back to the exact spot you were last year, which I think was the A's would love to do that. So I think the big part to him, reason why I don't think that he's going to stay with the team past 2026 is in 2027, he has a $22 million player option. If he struggles again like he did this year, maybe he's going to accept that. And I don't think the A's want to be locked into $22 million of Luis Severino going forward. So I think just from the contract sense of it and kind of both parties kind of not really liking the marriage so far is the way to put it. I think he's good as gone.
I forgot how much they're paying him. That's a gross amount of money for Luis Severino. He's 31. He's turning 32 next month. $22 million is a lot of money. And he's going to be paid $25 million this year. So I don't know who they'd move him to. It really depends how he's pitching. And at the time, I could see them moving him to out of the league to the National League and to like a team that can contend, but someone who's not going to overpay or can't afford to overpay prospects. Someone like the Padres, like they need pitching. They lost Michael King. Not Michael King. They lost Dylan Cease. They look like they need rotational help. And I think Severino, like they're willing to pay Padres. Like Padres are willing to add to their payroll, it looks like. But I don't think they have the prospects to pay up for what a team would command for Luis Severino. But at the same time, if Luis Severino is not pitching well, Padres can get him on a discount and then just eat the money. And I think the Padres are a team to do it like that. We'll see. Maybe the Phillies reach out with maybe one of their prospects because we've talked about their rotation and how it lacks depth right now. And Severino could be a guy to go get them some innings and pitch them some good baseball later on in the season. But we'll see. I don't know who the trade partner would be based off his age and what he did last year and the money. There's a lot of X factors around Severino. I do wholeheartedly agree. He's not going to finish the year as an Athletic. All right. Well, that rounds out all of our guys we want to talk about in terms of trades or not. Let me run through some news and injuries. Then we got a nice little segment to talk about in terms of AAVs coming up. But Hagen, let's run through this real quick. So Minnesota, they had a big week, the Twins, because they got Joe Ryan to agree to his arbitration number. Him and the team, when they went into arbitration, they filed for different numbers that were about $500,000 off. They agreed on a settlement here. This happened on Monday. So Ryan's going to get $6.2 million for next year. Well worth it. He will have a mutual option for $13 million in 2027. So if you're a Minnesota Twins fan, you got to be happy. And they also signed Taylor Rogers to a 1-year contract worth $2 million. So he began his began his career with the Twins back in 2016. Love seeing this, that he's coming home. What do you think this means for the Twins with Joe Ryan? Do you think they're still going to look to trade him? Because he was talking about getting traded earlier this year as well.
I mean, all the reports have kind of indicated that they want to run it back with this core of him and Buxton and Pablo Lopez. So I don't think he's going to get traded at all. I mean, it's good to see them finally settle on a number and just get that contract dealt out. Obviously, the mutual options hardly get accepted in baseball. I believe it's been like 8 years since mutual options been accepted. So he's just going to go through ARB again next year. But it's just good to do, especially when it's over $500,000. You don't want to take your ace into a courtroom and argue about why we should pay you $500,000 less. I know that the Twins have debt and all that, but you're billionaires who want to take $500,000 should have been much. Just sell a few more hot dogs. It's just good to see them settle and not have to just despair, just ruin the relationship there with Joe Ryan, especially with another year going arbitration next year.
Well said. All right, let's talk about the Giants. The Giants made some headlines this week when the Athletics' Ken Rosenthal reported on Monday that Harrison Bader, who's 31 years old, he agreed to a 2-year deal with the Giants. So John Heyman reported the deal is worth $20.5 million with incentives that could take it to $21 million. Is this worth the money for the Giants?
I think I wasn't a huge Harrison Bader fan. I don't think he's going to replicate his offensive season last year. But also, too, the Giants, I think it's a great get for him as well. I mean, you get a guy like Harrison Bader. First off, you get to move Jung-Hoo Lee, who was one of the worst defensive center fielders in all of baseball. You get to move him to a corner, which is right away, even if Harrison Bader was a slightly below average center fielder, that immediately improves your defense as a team there. And I know that was a big component they wanted to do this offseason, was improve their defense in the outfield. So you do that, and then you still have Heliot Ramos in left field. And then you have Drew Gilbert. Instead of him starting every single day, he slots into the role that he's best fit for, a fourth outfielder in Major League Baseball. Drew Gilbert, he's a really fun, exciting prospect, very fun, exciting guy as well. He's a fourth outfielder in Major League Baseball. He should not be an everyday player, especially at this point in his career. So it's good to see them, just the outfield way it's shaped out now. Obviously, get Harrison Bader now. He's a great defensive center fielder out there. He can play left, too, if you need him at some point. But yeah, bat, too. I mean, even if he's a 115 WRC plus bat for him, I mean, that's a good get for him. I think this offense needed a little bit of something in there. Obviously, probably middle to the bottom of the order he's going to slide in there right now. Roster resource on Fangraphs has him as 6th right now. But I like this deal for the Giants.
I did not realize that Drew Gilbert ended up in the Giants organization. He was a Met prospect for a while, right? How did he end up with the Giants?
He was traded at the deadline. He was the headliner for the Tyler Rogers deal.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, the rotation this year for the Giants, they're rolling out Robbie Ray, Logan Webb, Adrian Hauser, Tyler Mahle. Then they got some guys like Landon Raup, Carson Weisenhunt, Carson Seymour. I kind of like the rotation of what this team's doing. Patrick Bailey's obviously one of the best catchers in all of baseball defensively. Devers, Casey Schmidt, Chapman, Adames. This is an interesting little team, and I think that if Bryce Eldridge comes up and does what, people are saying he could do to a baseball at the major league level, the Giants might be kind of a wild card and I don't mean that like they're going to be a wild card team. I mean just overall, like who knows, like going a series against the Giants right now where like 2 of the 3 games you're going to verse Robbie Ray, who knows he's Cy Young winner Robbie Ray, and then also Logan Webb, who's one of the most consistent pitchers in baseball. I just they're kind of they can be really exciting in a short series. I definitely would be on guard if I'm playing the Giants at all.
Yeah, I mean the Giants do look pretty good. I think they kind of it's in the division now. I think people would probably put them maybe 4th, which is kind of crazy to say. But in the Diamondbacks and Padres and Dodgers, which is kind of hard. Just the division is just really good, so I think it's kind of misleading to say they're the 4th best team. But they're just gonna be one of those teams fighting for that wild card spot right now.
You have them as the 4th best team in the West, huh?
Yeah, I think they're pretty mid, honestly. I think they're like close to a 500 team. I like the Diamondbacks better than them. I like the Padres better than them still, and obviously the Dodgers.
So I'm just looking. The Giants are predicted 81.5 over/under wins. Diamondbacks are 79.5. So Vegas has Giants are better. I agree with Vegas. Not like I know that's easy to take Vegas. I just think the rotation a lot better, and I think you can't. No one can just sleepwalk through a regular MLB season. You need starting pitching to get through the dog days day to day. Like if you're not, you're just toast. And that's why we've seen a lot more pitching staffs develop in the years from 5-man rotation to 6. Now teams are talking 7 and 8 starters because it's like, hey, we want to give our guys a certain breaks throughout the weeks and the months of a long season. So I don't know. I do like the Giants pitching staff, but who's to say? Could go either way. Let's talk about the White Sox. They go after and almost immediately the money that they saved on Luis Robert Jr. spent on Sir Anthony Dominguez on a 2-year, $20 million deal. So they got their I think they got their closer here, Hagen. You think they're going to be the 9th inning guy for the White Sox?
Yeah, 100%. I love this for the Chicago White Sox. I mean, Chris Getz, he has had one of the best off seasons of any GM in Major League Baseball this offseason, in my opinion. Chris Getz, he gets who he wants. Sir Anthony Dominguez is a great signing for them. You lock up the 9th inning. I know he can be very shaky with the command. He looks a lot better when you look at his peripherals and just his savant page. When you actually watch him, it might be a little more of a heart attack. But this is a great get for a White Sox team. They didn't really have any proven high leverage guys you could say in the bullpen right now. So I love this for them, especially on a young competing team too. Like this team is so exciting. Like I remember the last time I was excited to watch a Chicago White Sox game. I mean, there's so many exciting players on this team. I love this deal for them. And that money too. I mean, you're pretty much getting a closer on a setup man price. I mean, the average setup man price right now is like $10 to $11 million AAV. You get Sir Anthony Dominguez on that price, and he can be a closer for you. So I really like that for them.
I'm going to run through a few of these just because I realize we're already at 47 minutes. Dylan Carlson signs a minor league deal with a spring training invite with the Cubs. Craig Kimbrell signs a minor league deal with the Mets. I'll let you. Any quick thoughts on Kimbrell, or do you think that's just kind of a flyer type situation?
Just a flyer to see how he looks out there. They'll probably use him for 2 or 3 outings and then DFA him in the middle of June.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I know I don't know what his stance is about when he's on the mound. It pisses me off. I hate it. I don't know. Like, do you like his pitching staff?
I love it. I love it. I think it's awesome. I mean, even like backyard like wiffle ball as a kid. I mean, that's one of those things you're doing.
The funny thing is, like, it's funny, but it's like I can't believe he's committed to it for so long of doing it like that. And obviously, it's paid well off for him because he's a fantastic major league pitcher for his career. He's had a great career. Nolan Arenado, I saw this real quick. He addressed on an interview this week about him blocking the trade to Houston. I thought this was newsworthy. So he had a full no trade clause and then decided not to get moved to Houston a couple of years ago. And he had some really good points. And he's like, everyone's quick to jump on you about why don't you want to go to Houston? And assuming what I think about Houston, he's like, listen. And he said, they were moving Kyle Tucker. Bregman was gone. Why? He's like, why would I go to Houston this time? Like when the band was breaking up. And I think he's like, I also got a family where we were settled. We were, we got kids. We're doing this, and like I felt Nolan Arenado was unfairly spoken for when this happened, based off these comments, and I'm just really glad he addressed it because a lot of the times, like, we never see these stories come out afterward, especially when there's no trade clauses and people like deny the trade. A lot of times they won't comment out of like respect for the other team, but it's like he was totally open and honest about like what, and I truthfully I believe him. Like it didn't seem like he was lying at all in this interview. So, any thoughts on that, on the no trade clause? But now he's willing to go. Obviously, he accepted a deal with Arizona.
I think just the biggest thing is just like the family aspect of it. I think a lot of people just look at the baseball side of it. I don't even want to go play in Houston. That team's a World Series contender, but you got to look at like the family. Obviously, he's been in St. Louis for a while now to this point, but 4 or 5 years, I believe. Remember, like he's got kids. Like obviously, if you move middle of the season, you trade teams. You still have your kids are probably still going to stay in St. Louis. You can't just move them out of school one day. They still have all their friends there, all their kids that are grown up there. They have all their friends. It's hard to move your whole family middle of the season. Because most of the time, too, when guys do that, they're leaving there, and then they don't see their family when they're at home anymore, and you don't see your family for a few months unless you're visiting St. Louis, whatever, on the road. So I would say it's the biggest thing, and I don't know why people were getting at him in the first place for not accepting that deal.
Yeah. No, you just nailed it. Like, it's more than just a baseball decision for a lot of these guys. I was going to go into a tangent about payroll disparity because MLB.com came out with a nice article about it. I just want to let people know that, I was looking at this. The Dodgers, obviously, we know what they're doing. Last year in payroll, they spent $515 million. And so that was including $169 million in luxury tax payments. The bottom 6 clubs last year combined to $510. So $5 million less than what the Dodgers did. And that means the Guardians, the White Sox, the Pirates, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Athletics, and the Miami Marlins. Those 6 teams combined did not have the payroll of what the Dodgers did last year. We can get into a full payroll thing. I'm not going to just because we're already 51 minutes in. But I think this visualization, and it was eye-opening to me, is like these labor negotiations at the end of the season, I think we're in for some crazy headlines about what's going to happen in baseball because something needs to change. I don't know what exactly it is, and we'll probably do an episode in the off season leading up to the lockout next year. If there is a lockout, is there 100% guaranteed like there is a lockout, or is it just like if they don't come to an agreement by a certain point, there's a lockout?
I mean, yeah, I believe it's November. I think December 15th, 2026 is when the lockout would officially start. They don't have an agreement by then. It's not guaranteed. Like, I guess not 100% guaranteed, but it's going to happen. I mean, we all know there's probably going to be some games lost next year just because this is the farthest apart, at least in my life, that I've seen the Players Association and the owners right now. So a lockout's going to happen.
Yeah, go check out that article. It's about payroll disparity. If you're on MLB.com, you could find it quickly. And like it also talks about exactly what you said. One of the big info charts, I didn't want to steal credit for like what they're doing, what their writers are putting together. There's a chart talking about how the disparity in teams right now is the biggest gap it's ever been between the lower teams and the bigger teams in terms of payroll. So it is a problem. It is a problem, and I'm hoping baseball is able to fix it. Aaron Judge, he returns as MLB The Show's cover athlete for 2026. He's only the second player to make the cover of the MLB Show more than once. And Joe Mauer is the other, who made the Hall of Fame. So not bad. The show will launch on March 17th. So everyone looking to play. I'm not a video game guy, but I know a lot of our group text is. Are you a video game guy? Are you going to play? Are you the show fan?
Yeah, I'm known for when the show comes out. I'm known for kind of diving into that game and grinding it a lot until normally I do that for a couple months and then I get really bored of the game. But I'm definitely going to be buying this and grinding it a lot.
Just hide in a dark basement with some like Mountain Dew and an Xbox for hours at a time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's why I can't play video games. I'll fall asleep. I actually not fall asleep. I feel like I lose track of time when I'm playing them and commit so much time to it. My last takes of the week. So I saw 2 really cool stats. So next year, Los Angeles is going to pay Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Tucker $3 million in salary combined. Let that sink in. Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Tucker next year are going to be paid combined $3 million in salary because of deferments. So we just talked about like how many players got signed. Like Joe Ryan is going to be making double next year on an arbitration deal. Joe Ryan will be making double what Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Tucker are combined. And that's why the Dodgers find themselves in these luxury tax issues, because this shit's going on. Hagen, do you have any retort to that? $3 million for Tucker and Ohtani in 1 year.
Yeah, I thought you had a typo there, and I was looking this up to correct you because it did not sound real at all. I thought it was going to be 30-something because I knew Ohtani's obviously, but I did not know they deferred this with Kyle Tucker getting only $1 million himself this year, and then next year 55. And if he says the other, then 60, then 60. I mean, that's honestly hilarious right now for baseball. Like that like to me, I know it pisses a lot of people off, but to me that is genuinely hilarious.
And I'm just fact checking this number. Next year, I don't know why. This is what I saw on whatchamacallit. I think Bleacher Report put this out, but it shows that his payroll effect is technically $28 million, but his annual cash value is actually $2 million of like what he's gonna get. And Kyle Tucker, that means he's making $1 million next year. Like, it's just absurd. And on top of that, Just Baseball, they put out a tweet of every player in MLB history to sign a $40 million AAV contract or more. And obviously, all these guys doing that, they're all recent players. The game's just more expensive to play nowadays. And you have Shohei, Juan Soto, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Aaron Judge, Zach Wheeler, Alex Bregman, Kyle Tucker, and Bo Bichette. Now, when you really look at these, out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, 4 of them have done it with the Mets, which is insane. And Verlander, if people don't remember, Verlander was a Met. Like, this happened with Justin Verlander and Scherzer, both with the Mets. Juan Soto and Bichette, obviously, this year. And then the other teams that do it, LA's had 2 guys, Ohtani and Tucker. Boston had 1 with Bregman last year. Philly did it with Zach Wheeler, and then Aaron Judge with the Yankees. So, as much criticism as people want to give the Yankees, only 1 guy in the history of the $40 million contracts has been a Yankee. All the other 8 guys, they're different teams. They're not the Yankees. So, what are your Hagen, you're the Mets fan. What do you think about these 4 Mets that have signed $40 million AAV contracts?
I love it. I mean, I would much rather, obviously it's not my money and all that. Uncle Steve has all the money in the world, not my money to spend, but I'm a big proponent of just give the guy, just bump up their salary per year and just cut off the back years. I don't want you when you're 38 years old. Ironically enough, I believe Verlander was 40 when he signed this deal with the Mets. Funny enough, but coming off a Cy Young season, I think he had a sub-2 ERA. And funny enough, too, when Verlander signed that deal, it was the same year that Jacob deGrom left in free agency for the Texas Rangers. And he was the signing to come back for Jacob deGrom, take his spot, and he lasted about 3 or 4 months. I think he had eight starts maybe for the Mets because he started the year hurt, made about 8 starts, traded him to the Astros, got Drew Gilbert, who we talked about earlier today, and Ryan Clifford back. And then the Mets paid, I think they said that on total the Mets paid around like $45 million for 8 starts just for Verlander because they were paying his contract when he was with the Astros too.
Dude, when I was reading this, I totally forgot Verlander was a Met. I was just, because he only played so many games. It's like, damn, he really made his mark. $45 million worth of it for 8 starts. But this is crazy. And I Just Baseball, thank you for putting that tweet out because that's solid. That's solid quality content right there.
And even too, I overshot that too. I said he had 8 starts with the Mets. He had 5 starts with the Mets. Or sorry, 5 wins. Sorry, he had 11 starts with the Mets.
Yeah, whatever it was. So it was very minimal. It was not a lot. Hence the reason why I forgot Justin Verlander was a Met even for a year. Outside of that, do you have any last takes before I close this out?
No, I'm all good.
All right. Well, thank you again for listening. If you're still with us, be sure to go like and subscribe to our free newsletters and blogs that come out. If you feel the need to help us out, give us a 5-star rating on any of our podcast outlets here, Spotify, Apple Music. But definitely go like our articles. And if you want, subscribing to us, I think is like $5 a month. No ads in our stuff. It really helps us out. The other thing I will say, I'll announce our next episode 235, will be this Sunday. And we will be bringing on an old friend of mine and Dean's onto the podcast. He's going to explain his new playoff format and a way that he put together that he thinks would be good for baseball. So we're going to go over the news then, and then just anything that happens between, right now it's Wednesday at 9:00 Eastern. And then we'll go over his playoff format, but we're really excited for that episode. Other than that, Skipper's View is out. Bye.